All right. Hello, great thinkers. I can't tell you how excited I am that you have chosen to spend some time with me today to take a closer look at the communication movement. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Erik Therwanger. I'm the founder of Think Great and also the author of the communication movement. This is my seventh book in our collection on helping people to be greater. And I actually started the concept for this book about 5 years ago because most of the people I speak with around the world cite communication as their number one issue. But I wanted to do more than just teach people how to speak better. I wanted to help create a shared language in organizations, a language that does more than just allow us to transfer information. I wanted to launch a movement, a communication movement that allows us to unify our people. And there is no greater time than right now to improve communication and bring our people together. Communication in the workplace is important every day, but during times of stress, chaos, uncertainty, and fear, it is absolutely paramount. And we cannot afford to leave the impact of communication to chance. Now, I may have begun writing this book before COVID-19, but the worldwide pandemic forced me to put this as my top priority. So I'm going to share some of the key highlights from this book so you can unify your people. In fact, you can even do more than that. You can unify your entire company with the shared language of success. So as we talk about communication, I want you to think about something extremely important. Right now, I want you to think about how important teamwork is in your business. In fact, I'll bet it's a 10 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, right? And you can feel free if you'd like, you can throw your hands up if you agree with what I'm saying right now. If you think that teamwork is a 10 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, please raise your hand. There they go. The hands are going up. Well, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our teams are at their strongest when people are gathered, when they are together. And right now, we live in a world of separation and division, especially in the workplace. There is a communication movement happening in the workplace right now. Unfortunately, it's not good. Social and physical distancing is pushing our people apart. And we will feel the long-term effects of this phenomenon unless we're prepared to unify our people through our communication. You know, Time Magazine wrote an article stating that COVID-19 is the largest work from home experiment the world has ever seen. Well, remote working is not the major concern here. It's the distancing, the division that over time can diminish the effectiveness of our teams, of our people. It is inevitable. One of the number one objectives during this whole pandemic and the transition back to normalcy is unification. We must bring our people together. That is always important, but now it's critical. And I'm going to show you how to do it through communication. In the brief period of time we have today, communication, just understand this, has the power to divide our people. Communication also has the power to unify them. Now, let's just take a look at some statistics on communication. According to Inc.com, the cost of poor communication is $37 billion annually to businesses. According to a Harris poll, a stunning majority, 69% of managers said that they are often uncomfortable communicating with employees. And remember, communication is critical. Forbes says that employees who feel connected to their company and the leadership team stay longer and perform better. And Inc.com also added that leaders who possess effective communication skills produced a 47% higher return. That's a higher return on performance and results. How many of you out there are interested in seeing an increase in the performance of your teams? Oh yeah, hands are flying up. Yeah, absolutely, and it's completely possible. Now let's just focus on communication for a second. I want to ask you a simple question about your workplace. How important is communication in your workplace? I'll bet, like most people, you're giving it a 10. Well, if it is a 10, then the next logical question that I ask is, how often are you providing consistent and relevant communication training to ensure the unification of your people? You know, far too many people give the answer to that question a 0. But hey, that's why you're here today. Let's turn that 0 into a 10. But first, we have to understand that there are two distinct languages spoken in every workplace. No, I'm not talking about English or Spanish or Japanese. I'm talking about our business language and our shared language. Our business language allows us to survive, which is we all need to do that. Many businesses are experimenting on survival right now through chaos. And we expect our people to speak fluently about these elements, our company, our industry, our products, and our services. That goes without saying that they should be fluent in those four things, our business language. But what about a language that allows us to do more than thrive? It allows us to thrive. A language that unifies, a language that pulls our people together and has nothing to do with your organization. This is a language that everyone can and should speak fluently, but there is a void of this language in the business place. How many of you are interested in learning what those elements are? Oh yeah, a lot of you. Of course you are. That's why you're here. But before I share them, let me first set the stage. Literally, set the stage to describe why they're so important. I want you to think for a second about the pleasing sound that we experience when we listen to a conductor as he or she leads an orchestra that plays the symphony. When everyone, all the musicians are in unison, when they're in sync, each of their movements complements the overall feeling, the mood, the performance, the results. Now, to achieve this, there's typically four movements in a symphony: a fast movement that's then connected to a slow movement, that's then connected to a dance movement, that's then connected to a strong movement. Each of these movements are connected, and each creates the overall experience. It unifies not only the performance of the musicians, but it unifies everyone in the audience. Think about communication in your workplace. Is there harmony? Is the communication that's happening creating a pleasing effect? Is everyone on the same sheet of music? Is everyone speaking the same language? Or do you sometimes encounter negativity or gossip or misunderstandings or misinterpretations or complacency or subpar performance? Are there sometimes lackluster results? Do you often experience silos? Is there an us versus them mindset in your organization that shouldn't be? Listen, you no longer need to settle for a bunch of kazoo players when it comes to team communication. You and your entire team deserve to enjoy the sweet sound and sight of the communication movement. Now, just as there's four movements in a symphony, there are four movements in the shared language of success. And in fact, these four movements are happening right now in your organizations, and they are each making a significant impact. They are either pushing your people apart or they are bringing them together. And here are the four movements of a shared language: the words we choose, the speeches we share, the gestures we make, and the actions we take. Now, I don't have a lot of time with you today, but I am going to share some insights, some examples and strategies so you can start to have awareness of each of these movements and start to improve them. Start to move your people together, but in the direction of unification. Now, let's take a look at the first movement, our words. Can words have that much power? Are they powerful? The answer is yes. In fact, the words we choose allow us to do three things. We can build strong identities in our organization. We can create exceptional attitudes in our entire team, and we can build and develop remarkable teams that achieve greatness. How many of you would like to accomplish that right now? Right now we need it. So let's take a look at our understanding of words. In grade school, we learned about words, specifically 9 word classes. And each word that we use falls into a class that describes its behavior, what it does when we speak it. Now, we all know this. A noun refers to a person, place, or thing. A verb, that refers to an action, an event, or a state. And an adjective describes people, animals, things. And these classes make sense, but they do nothing to describe the impact that the word has on our people when it is chosen, how each word impacts unification. So, hey, I took it upon myself to create a new class. It's the 10th word class. Words are like magnets. Each word has people power, the power to unify our people or divide them. Just like every word is a magnet, and we need to choose them carefully because their magnetic properties go into effect as soon as we speak them, whether we intended it or not. I know what you're thinking. So what are the magnetic properties? Well, I'm glad you asked. Every single word has the power of attraction and repulsion, just like a magnet. They either divide or they unify. We need to start listening, and I recommend this. Start listening to the words spoken in your workplaces. What are the effects they're having on your people? Now, some of these words are said out of habit. Some perhaps even with good intentions, like the ones you're seeing here, but they may add slight levels of division that over time can create huge gaps, and during times of chaos can make that gap even wider. Now, sometimes we hear people use the word change or manage or sell or employee. I'm not saying these are bad words. I am saying that they 100% have a magnetic effect. Now, I know you're using them, your team may be using them, but how do people feel about them? Well, we got to tap into these magnetic words and perhaps consider shifting some of these words that have the property of repulsion and replacing them with magnetic words that attract. And I'm going to give you some examples. We've got a ton of them in the book, but we don't have enough time to go into all of them. So I'm going to share 4 of them right now that'll help you to start to attract your people. For starters, don't change anything. Enhance everything. People are afraid of change. They don't even like the word. Even good change causes fear and anxiety. Don't roll out a change. Enhance everything. The other thing is stop managing people. You can manage stuff. You can manage budgets. You can manage projects. You can manage inventory. But lead people, guide them, coach them, mentor them, empower them, communicate to them to move them. And hey, listen, if you really want sales to go up, stop selling, start sharing. Get your people to share the vision, the mission, the excitement, the essence of your company. Take the pressure of selling off of them, and they will share more, opening up more buying opportunities. Now, here's a big one too, employees. A lot of people use it. You heard it in the stats. Even Forbes uses it, and I need to give them a class too, because they need to shift the way they're doing some things and start using attractive words, but I'll get to them next. Now, nobody on your team, when they were asked in high school, what do you want to be when you grow up, answered it with, I want to be an employee. Yet we have an employee lounge, we have an employee handbook, you have an employee number. Earlier, we all said how important teamwork is. Stop using employee, replace it with team member. When I was on payroll in the Marine Corps, I was never an employee, I was a Marine. That word is infinitely more empowering. Now, you also have some other words that you can tap into called core values, part of our identity. You probably have them. If you don't have them, you need to have them. And if you have them or about to have them, we need to use them. This is an opportunity to unify our people with our core values. I mean, just look at what each word individually means. Core means an essential part or meaning. Value means something such as a principle or quality, something that's intrinsically valuable or desirable. Can you imagine the power when you combine those 2 words and have core values? In the Marine Corps, we had 3: honor, courage, and commitment. These words unified us. They were defined and spoken often. Everyone knew them, we talked about them, and we tried to exemplify them. Why? They have a magnetic quality. If you have core values, right now, make sure that they're clearly defined, that they are spoken about often in your meetings, in the context of your correspondence, even if it's an email, and recognize your people who exemplify them. If you do not have core values, or you're not using them effectively to unify your people, now is the time. And that's just our words. Now let's take a look at the second movement. As we begin to combine our words, we form speeches. And we're all speakers here. We speak to people. That qualifies you in my book as a speaker. Now, the speeches we share have power. Our vocal creations influence people. Every time we use dialogue, we inspire activity. And the phraseology that we choose fosters success. From now on, never communicate just to talk. Communicate with the intention to unify. And we need to start listening to what's happening in our environment. And I want to share this with you. The Dialogue Quadrant. Here is what I have found. Just analyzing dialogue for over 10 years, it's happening in businesses, even the businesses that I worked for as a team member. We have the ability to be a connector. We can engage and educate people. We also have the ability, when we speak, to be a divider. We can enrage and enable people. We need to be in the top segment, those top 2 quadrants of the Dialogue Quadrant. When we engage people, that is dialogue that lifts people up. When we educate, that is dialogue that builds people up. But some dialogue pushes people away. It enrages them. Some dialogue keeps people down. It enables them. Great thinkers, you're on here to create the communication movement. We need to pay attention to all of the dialogue happening in our office. Sometimes just start writing things down. Use the dialogue quadrant. Try and find out where you're falling with your speeches and where your team is. Now, when we think about great speeches, we often think about the great leaders that have delivered them. Over the years, I have constantly listened to and assessed some of the greatest speeches ever given. I listen to them over and over and over. These are speeches that caused people to follow the person delivering the message. It unified people at a time when they needed it most. Now, I am not encouraging you to try and write the next Gettysburg Address or the next I Have a Dream speech. What I am saying is that we need to have awareness of what our speeches or our phrases or our sayings can have on people. We need to have a situational awareness of the impact. Is our dialogue connecting people or dividing them? And just think about this. Even Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech was only 16 minutes long. The impact has lasted for generations. All of the great speeches, the ones that moved people, had 4 factors in common. They addressed a challenge. They announced the solution. They shared a vision, and they provided the inspiration to get people to move in the right direction. We can all do that without writing the next world's greatest speech. Now, we can also take a close look at our speeches. That could be our phrases, the cliches, the idioms, the sayings, things that are used in the workplace, things that are said all of the time. They are sending messages. Perhaps you've heard some of these before, and each one sends a message. We just have to have awareness because it is moving people either in the right direction or the wrong direction. And let me just address these real quick. I have these and many more in the book. Let me be honest. How many times have you heard somebody say that? I mean, have you been dishonest? That's the first thing that comes to mind. My door is always open. I know we say that with good intentions, but are we authorizing people to actually jump the chain of command, not talk to their supervisor and come right in my door? Here's a popular one. I want you to run with this. Some people feel like they're just being tossed into the street and expected to figure everything out when people say that. Or this is a popular one. We need to move the needle. I mean, are we actually authorizing people to use medical equipment? We got to be aware of what's going through their heads. I like this one, right? Get your ducks in a row. I don't know about you, but every time that's said, I picture baby duckies following their mama across the street. And it actually takes me away from what the point is the person's trying to make. And then this one's really popular. Let's put lipstick on this pig. All right, so another farm animal reference. For some reason, we love farm animals. But did the person say this really compare our project, a product, or one of our offerings to swine? Hey, you can say it with the best of intentions. Just be aware of the message it's sending, because that message, not the saying, the message, the interpretation, that perception is what moves people. So you might say, well, how can we use these? Hey, I use some of them. Just make sure everyone on your team understands the true meaning. There is too much at stake to let people guess at what you meant. When people guess at it, workplace engagement levels are impacted. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, communication impacts our people at the highest levels. And just look at the current engagement levels recently published by Gallup. Gallup is saying that 68% of the workforce is considered non-engaged. They're either not engaged, just sleepwalking through work, or actively disengaged. They show up. Think about this. Actively disengaged. 14% right now show up to move people apart. Only 34% are engaged, or 32%. 32% are engaged. And that means they fall somewhere between somewhat engaged and highly engaged. We need to use communication right now to increase engagement levels. I did it at the media company, and we grew over 300% in our annual sales revenue, and we simultaneously eliminated non-engagement. We had a 99% fully engaged crew, and you can too. But we have to measure where we are. Now, when it comes to sounds, we have an ability to measure the volume or the level of sound. We use the decibel scale. You've probably heard this before. It measures loudness. Okay? So we can identify where things are. 0 decibels is our threshold of hearing. Breathing is 10 decibels. A chainsaw is 110. Our threshold of pain is 140. We need to measure things. If communication is so important in the workplace, if it is a 10 out of a 10, if it has the ability to unify our people, we need a scale. So I created one specifically for you. It's called our delivery scale. The speeches that we deliver, that message that we deliver, we need to be able to see where it ranks between dividing and unifying. 0 is dividing. You may hear language that divides your people, pushes them away. We have to identify it. Maybe you've heard intimidating language or demeaning or condescending. There it is on the scale. Maybe just basic information is transferring. It's right there, right at the 50 mark. Or maybe you've heard somebody encourage somebody or engage them or empower them or unify them. We have to define where it is so we can help teach it. We are not teaching the power of communication. All right. Now we've talked about our words. We've talked about combining our words. And now we need to talk about the third movement when no words are involved, our gestures. The gestures we make, sometimes what isn't said can be more powerful than what is said. I want you to understand gestures are happening. We are making them, our team members are making them. Our nonverbal cues reveal clues about our true intent. Body language in the workplace shapes trust in the workplace. And the physical, oh, this is so good, this part right here. I love this chapter. The physical motions happening by your team members foreshadow the actions they're about to take. Just like a weather forecast, you will know what's coming when you are able to read those physical motions. Understand this, gestures. This is the visual language we hear with our eyes. Now, the first time I learned about gestures, nonverbal commands or communication was in the military. You see, the military uses gestures to convey meaning, messages, and the most basic of all is the hand salute. It's used by every branch of the armed services, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Space Force. And it's not just used within each branch, it's used between each branch. Soldiers will salute sailors, sailors will salute Marines, Marines will salute the Coast Guard. It has one simple message: respect. And we are all taught this nonverbal message when we enter. We are taught how to salute during the onboarding process. Now, what's the message being sent by the gestures happening in your workplace right now? And they are happening. Oh, we've seen some of them, but we need to have awareness. So let's take a look at some of the most common ones that I've noticed happening in the workplace. And there's far more than this. But right now, I want to show you some of the ones that divide our people. These are the ones that push them away. In a meeting, clock watching, people watching the clock is sending a message that I'm bored. Or when people have their arms crossed, right? It's sending a message that they have their guard up. Fidgeting sends a message. Poor posture sends a message. Eye rolling, we've all seen that one. Never a good message when we see somebody roll their eyes. Nail biting, phone checking, we're sending a message. Hey, you've seen them before. We need to teach our people the negative impact that these have. But there's also gestures, body languages, these motions that happen that unify our people, that pull them together, and we need to have more of these. A firm handshake sends a message. I know what you're thinking. Can we handshake during COVID-19? Well, I suppose if you wash your hands afterwards, you can. But if you don't like that, at least give a firm elbow bump. But do it with confidence and send a message. Now, also, too, when somebody's giving a message, instead of rolling eyes, let's nod our head in agreement. Let's show unification. Let's lean in like we care. Let's make direct eye contact, stand up straight, keep our head up, right? Have some bearing. And most importantly, we need to smile more. It sends a big message when we smile. It also sends a huge message when we don't. All right. I'm going to wrap it all up. I'm going to bring it home on the fourth movement, our actions. Whew. How many would agree with this phrase? An action is worth 1,000 words. How many would agree with that? Oh, look at the hands going up. Yeah, yeah, we know every action is critical. Now, every action has power. And when we start taking the right actions, we can start synchronizing the performance of our team, getting them in sync, working as a cohesive unit. We can start harmonizing their efforts just like an orchestra playing a symphony. And most importantly, it gives us the opportunity to start boosting recognition, perhaps one of the most important actions that we can take. Now, let's talk about people power. And I know what you're thinking, why is he showing a horse? I want to ask you a very simple question. How many of you feel that the people you work with currently, the people on your team, are capable of delivering more, having greater performance, greater results, doing a better job? How many feel you work with people who have more potential to give than they currently are? Oh, yeah. Yeah, almost everybody. So at the media company, when we grew over 300%, we did not hire 300% more people. Through our actions, we achieved magnetic mathematics. And you're saying, wait a minute, what did he just say? I've never heard that before. I'll repeat it. We achieved magnetic mathematics. Our people delivered maximum performance and nearly eliminated every mistake in our organization. How many of you are interested in seeing your people achieve maximum performance and eliminating mistakes? How many hands? Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot. Everybody. Yeah. All right. So if you would like to see your people deliver greater results, it's all about cohesion, unification, and the connection of their actions. So the reason I have horses here is I want you to take a look at what happens when horses achieve magnetic mathematics. Now, according to studies, one draft horse or a workhorse can pull 8,000 pounds. It's awesome, 4 tons, I love it. So it makes sense that 2 of them should be able to pull 16,000 pounds, which is basic math, 1 + 1 = 2. But that's not the case. When you harness up 2 horses working together, they can actually pull 24,000 pounds. Well, that's better math. That's 1 + 1 = 3. Oh, but it can get better when we train horses together to work in sync, to be a cohesive unit, to function as a team. And we said earlier how important teamwork is. These horses, when trained together, can pull 32,000 pounds. Now that is magnetic math. How would you like your team to achieve 1 + 1 = 4? Well, let me tell you how it feels. When we were at the media company, we achieved it and it was worth it. But you might be saying to yourself, what are some actions we can take? Well, in the military, here was one of the actions we took. Every branch was taught to march. We learned to work together, to step together, to go in sync. Yet we had Jeeps and Humvees and helicopters to transport us. Marching was never about walking better. Marching was always about performing better. And I know what you're thinking. You cannot go back to the workplace and yell, "Fall in," and get your people to start marching. Neither could I when I entered the workplace after I left the military. But I found something that allows us to take actions together, to step in unison. We all have the ability to have the highest performing teams, to unify them, to create cohesion and teamwork like you've never seen before. One of the biggest things I teach is how to harness the power of our systems, the collection of processes, the steps that allow our teams to be in sync, to achieve 1 + 1 = 4. We did not have systems in place at the media company, so I created them. I unified our people with actions. We not only created department cohesion, but these steps knocked down every silo in our company. Our people were working together, marching together to the beat of the same drum. It eliminated the dividing language that people were saying, like it's my way or the highway, or this is how we've always done it. When it comes to your systems, the way we run our systems should be as synchronized as the footsteps of a military formation marching to victory. Whew. I don't know about you, but I just got myself fired up. Now, the last step One action that we can take, we'll pull it all together with this: boosting recognition, recognizing people for their efforts, their results, their passion, their impact. I have never, ever in all of my days, especially as a coach, met a team member who said, I don't want any more recognition. But I have met far too many who say our company needs to do more. According to Forbes, 36% of employees, we know it's team members, I'll talk to Forbes later, 36% of employees felt so strongly about recognition or the lack of it, it was the #1 reason they were considering switching jobs. In other words, they were leaving. It's the ultimate sign of division. When the revolving door keeps going and people are stepping out, 36% are leaving because of recognition or the lack of it. Our recognition needs to be consistent and understood by everyone. So I'm going to ask you this: on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank your current recognition program? A 10 means that everyone has the opportunity to be recognized throughout your entire company, and everyone understands all forms of the recognition and the criteria to earn it. Here's a tip. If you're designing or enhancing your current recognition program, recognize the behaviors and the performance you want to see duplicated. You can recognize your way to unification. Woo! All right, great thinkers. That 30 minutes flew by. Hey, I just want to let you know our book is in the final edit stages. We will have this book out soon. If you would like to pre-order, you can scan that QR code, hold your phone up there, your phone camera. You don't even have to take a picture. It'll take you right to the website and you can order copies for yourself and your team. You can start the communication movement. I hope you launch the communication movement in your business. It will be worth it. You will unify your people with the shared language. You need to have them have situational awareness. If you would like to learn more about bringing the communication movement in, we not only have this 30-minute presentation, we have a dynamic keynote, and we have a workshop to transform communication in the workplace and create movement in the right direction. You can feel free. We'll send out a link in just a little bit with an email with a link to this pre-order and also to my Calendly. You can set up a time where we can talk a little bit about what you need in your workplace to increase communication and unify your people. Hey, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you taking time with me today to talk about communication. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. I am eternally grateful for the time that you have given to me, and we are here to help you if you need anything. Have an amazing day.